Welcome to Awaken to Your Heart, a podcast to, help you awaken to your heart and live a life with meaning and purpose. I'm your host, Zia Eubanks. Welcome to the podcast. Today's episode is about the observer and understanding witness consciousness. A lot of us want to change things in our life, but we keep doing the same thing over and over again. And in order to really change things, you need to be able to step back and look at yourself and what you're thinking and how you're behaving and what actions you're taking that are continually giving you the same result. So if you want a new result, you have to do something different. But if you don't look at yourself, you can't change and do something new. So it's like a catch-22. So that's what the observer effect is about. It's about becoming the observer of your own thoughts, your own behaviors, your own actions. Wayne Dyer calls it in his book, the gap. It's the gap between your thinking and connecting with that all-knowing field or the quantum field of unlimited possibilities. In the law of attraction, they talk about thoughts create reality. So what you're thinking creates your personal reality. And I think a lot of people believe that it's just all random. It's like, man, why does all this bad stuff happen to me? They don't think, or why does all this good stuff happen to me? Or, boy, I'm just lucky. We don't really think about that starts with us. It's a reflection of us. So what we're thinking about, what we believe, what we're putting out, goes out there and brings back to us similar ideas, people, things, situations. I know somebody who always has bad things happen, like they're driving down the road and there's a piece of metal in the road. They don't see it. It hits their tire. They get a flat tire and the piece of metal flies up and, puts a big old scrape in the side of their door. Or that same person I know had a brand new refrigerator that he had to wait for weeks to get. And when they hooked it up, they did something to the water line. So the water line was leaking, but he didn't know it. And by the time he caught it, it had ruined a big portion of his hardwood floor because the water went underneath the hardwood flooring. And he's like, think, why is all this stuff happening? And he's like, if there's something bad's going to happen, it's always going to happen to me. Well, I'm not blaming him, but in a way I am blaming him. He doesn't have the awareness of his own thoughts. And that's the part is what the observer effect helps us with. Recognizing that we are the creators of our own reality. If we see something in the external world that we're not happy with, then we have to look within and go, wow, how am I participating in that? And this really isn't like a blame thing. I think some people get upset, blaming, oh, you're thinking bad thoughts, so it's your fault. It's about awareness. That's all it's about, is awareness. And that's what the observer, becoming the observer, is all about. You become a witness to your own self and what you're thinking, what you're doing, and it's a non-judgmental position. I think that's the other part. We're trained from a very young age to self-criticize because other people are also criticizing us. So then we self-criticize. It's like, oh man, why'd I do that? Why'd I say that? Whoa. We have to put the judgment part of it away. To be a really good observer, to really practice witness consciousness takes a deep level of compassion and not judgment, because it's being kind to yourself. It's like I have to be loving and kind towards myself and become this objective observer and see if I can identify or understand my thinking or my behaviors that keep continuing to have this influence in my life that I don't want. For me, it's really easy to equate it to my battle with weight. Here I go. That was it right there. I got myself, I witnessed that. It's my battle with weight. That is in my head. I've had a battle with my weight my entire life. Well, if I have that as my consciousness, I will always battle with my weight. What do you think is going to happen? I will continually battle with my weight. So that is a belief that I just, again, reinforced without even recognizing it, that has followed me my entire life. We all have those kind of things. We have a belief that we believe is true, or that continues to look like it's true in our life, but we feel like we're a victim to it, that we haven't contributed to that at all. Well, I continue to contribute to that by having this really deep belief within me that I always battle with my weight. It's like me against my body. The battle continues. Well, is that what I really want to think? Of course not. If I really want to change that behavior, if I really want to change my relationship with my body, the battle has to end. And I need to become aware, which I just did again, of how that is so entrenched inside of me that in order to change it, I have to continue to witness that. And every time it comes up, like that time, I caught it immediately. I can say, wow, that is not what I want to think. That's not a thought that I want to continue. So I became the observer of my thinking. It's like there has to be a space between the knee-jerk reaction. You have the thought, then it just goes on. You have to go like I just did with that. Stop. Wait a minute. Is that what I really want to think? And get into the gap. And the way to get into the gap is one of the best ways to do it is through meditation. Learning a meditation practice where you observe your thoughts and not connect with your thoughts. If you have a meditation practice, you understand this, but a lot of people have a hard time starting a meditation practice and keeping a meditation practice because of the monkey mind, that busy mind where the thought comes up, we attach to the thought, and pretty soon we're down the road 10 miles with the thought, planning our day and making our to-do list instead of observing the thought. So meditation teaches you to disconnect, because we're all going to connect with the thought. Your meditation, your thought comes up, you let it go by. You're meditating, the thought comes up, you let it go by. Like they say, imagine your thoughts are clouds and the clouds are just floating by. You just let them float. Well, then suddenly one cloud comes by and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to send that check to pay for my car insurance. Oh, I've got to do that. I better remember to do that. And I've got to send that. And do I have any stamps? I don't think I have any stamps. Well, maybe I can just pay it online. I should just pay it online. Well, meanwhile, 10 minutes has gone by and you've already just followed that thought and completely become absorbed in it. Then you go, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be letting my thoughts be clouds. And then you let the cloud go by again. It's like that's the practice of meditation. It's like finding the gap, finding that space between automatic thinking and being the witness to the thinking. And it takes practice and it takes diligence, but that's what meditation is. I think about that idea of it's a practice and it takes discipline. Well, we all just feel like practice and discipline are these like chores or this punishment, when in fact it's not that way at all, because the freedom that you gain from this separation from your thoughts can transform your life. When you can really step back in this compassionate, non-judgmental way and be witness to your thoughts, and then ask yourself, how is that thought serving me? How is that going to give me what I want? Or do I really think that maybe that's not a thought I need to have anymore? Like me, always battling with my weight. I don't want to be at war with my body. So that thought has to be replaced. And that's a whole nother topic. But to begin, this is about learning to become the witness, learning to become the observer of your thoughts. It just is a practice. It needs to start in a very simple way. And then what happens, which I've found, is the more I can get in touch with that, or the more I can be in the gap, the more I'm able to see things. And it becomes very much easier than it did at the beginning. And then I have to say, there's some things I observe that I just really don't like that one, for example. Or I'll find myself thinking a thought about a situation or a person, and I'm like, I don't really want to think like that. Why am I having that thought? So we have to pay attention. And I think that the key here is to understand the two parts of it. I had a great teacher one time in Ohio who used to talk to us about being the witness, how to be in witness consciousness. And he said, imagine you break your arm and you immediately just go to the pain of the broken arm. Oh my God, I broke my arm. Oh man, I'm in so much pain. Oh my God. And the other side of that is to step back and look at your arm and go, wow, look at that. My arm is broken. This is what it looks like to have a broken arm. You know, I'm going to have to go to the hospital now and get this fixed. Well, you can either jump into like being part of the pain and the experience, which this is a hard example because you're in pain, but you can understand what I'm saying with this idea of becoming the observer of it. You know, this is what it's like to be a human being that has a battle with their weight. I don't want to be a human being that has a battle with my weight. So I can separate myself. He used to say to us, have you ever said, well, I said to myself, self, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's like, well, who's the I and who's the self? Who is the I saying, I said to myself? So there's these two parts of us. There's the I, and then there's myself. Well, that I is this higher consciousness, our higher self, our internal wisdom, our whatever you want to call it. And then there's that myself, which is this personality, or this the person that I am in this world. There are these two parts of me. And I think that that's the part we need to really understand. There's this conscious awareness that is like part of who we all are, that can observe and witness ourselves. So the I said to myself, those are two distinct parts. So this I is like this consciousness that's in and around us that we can tap into. But I think a lot of us just kind of blow that off and like, yeah, whatever. The myself part is the more real part. And that goes to this idea that if we see it, then it's real. That's that idea of the 3D world and our physicality, like this is my physical being, this is my physical personality, this is who I am. I am this name and I have this job and I do these things and this is who I am in the physical world. Where this I part of us is this invisible consciousness that communicates with us all the time. It's intuition, it's this higher self, it's this higher knowing, it's this the I am part of ourselves that we sometimes just ignore. And that's what meditation practice does. Meditation practice allows us to connect with that I and become the observer, to become the one who steps back. And in that I is that compassionate, non-judgmental, loving self that we all have. And learning to connect with that and be able to witness your thoughts and behaviors and actions so that you can begin to shift that and get out of behaviors and thoughts and actions that are actually detrimental to yourself. It takes practice. Again, practice and discipline, but that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. The other part that I think is really important is that the staticness of staying stuck in that myself, that personality, that three-dimensional physical body, where there's this expansiveness about ourselves that is available to us when we connect with that observer. The observer gives us a way bigger vision of ourselves. And right now in this world, we need that. I think so many people are afraid, and so many people have shrunken themselves out of fear and of all the uncertainty in the world. Whereas when you connect with that observer, that witness consciousness, it's expansive, and it brings a sense of confidence. It brings a sense of peace and knowing and compassion. And it has to start with yourself. So I think it's really important that people begin to meditate or continue to meditate, whatever you've got going on. I say find a way to meditate. There's so many ways. I have a blog post about it. I'll link it in the notes so you can go read about that. The other way to do this is another great way to get in touch with that I am and myself is through journaling. You can do journaling where you ask a question and answer it, like with your left hand if you're right-handed, you're non-dominant, and just have a conversation with yourself. And I've done that a lot. If I've been stuck in a problem, or if I've stuck in a situation that I just don't know how to resolve, I will do that. I will go and have this conversation with myself. I'll ask the question and then let my non-dominant hand respond. And I'm always blown away by what information comes to me. So it's just learning to use that and reconnect with that. It's part of who we are as human beings. We have that I am and myself. And it's like we have given all the attention to the myself, like this person I can see in the mirror is all that matters. When the reality is the greater wisdom that we have comes from that invisible source, that observer, that witness, that consciousness that exists, whether it's your higher self, God, whatever you want to call that, it is unique to each of us. So we need to practice. We need to get back in touch with that and start living our lives more aligned with what we don't see versus what we see. There's so much power in that. So much power in that. Well, anyway, there's the topic today. The observer. And there's plenty of places you can learn about this. There's plenty of sources for meditation. You want to check out Wayne Dyer's book. I have him listed in my reading list. There's so much out there. But I encourage everybody to start stepping back just maybe a couple of times a day, or just witness what you're thinking, witness what you're saying, witness those things that you repetitively say, like me with the I've always battled my weight and I always will. That thought is turned into a reality for me that's like a giant wall. And the only person creating that is me. I can change that, and I am changing that. That's why I'm doing all this work. That's why I'm doing these podcasts. That's why I'm creating all the things I've created. I'm doing it for you, but I'm also doing it because it teaches me and reminds me of the greater part of who I am, this bigger self that I am, my higher self, this wise essence that exists within me that I can either connect with or I can ignore. And I'm choosing not to ignore it. And I hope you do too. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.